Welcome back, YouTubers, to our WrestleMania 16, aka WrestleMania 2000, the first WrestleMania of the millennium, for our WrestleMania review series. Excuse the botch there, ladies and gentlemen. But I will not botch this next line. We are the British Fist.
Gotcha!
I'm Mr. Parkin, sitting here, very stern face at the moment for this WrestleMania review, and this guy sitting next to me, very excited because his boy was winning the main event. It's NJ.
What's up?
Make sure you guys keep subscribing to us up above, like this video, and comment your thoughts on WrestleMania 16 down in that comment section below.
You contact us and link thoughts below.
Yes, we really do want to know your thoughts on this one, because it was a bit of a mixed bag. Right, I think it's fair to say in 2000, after that shit we had at 1999, WWE had a really good year in 2000. We had a lot of good pay-per-views over 2000, and this was the first WrestleMania to go 4 hours, which made it stand out a little bit and feel a bit more special rather than having it in 3 hours as usual.
Very true. I think with it having the extra hour, it can actually adapt the matches hopefully more, which will cover it.
Yeah, and also I think it's very important to note in this WrestleMania they had no Austin, so they didn't have their number one draw at the time, which is like not having Hogan in one of the golden eras, and you also didn't have Taker, who was a big star for them at the time. So you didn't have two big stars on this WrestleMania. You also had Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler commentating at the height of the Attitude Era, always our favourites, just because we lived through their commentating.
Yeah, with them on commentators, they obviously work well together, what we've said in the past, and having them into this special WrestleMania was good stuff.
We opened up this WrestleMania with The Godfather and D'Lo Brown, with Ice-T versus the Big Boss Man and Bull Buchanan. A couple of things here before we go on to this. On Sunday Night Heat, we had Boss Man introducing Bull Buchanan as his partner, and we also had Ice-T singing the Godfather's song, Godfather. What a gimmick that was, coming out with the hose and everything.
Hey, pimps in the house!
And we had D'Lo Brown as well with the head bobbing. You know, those are some good unique characters. And even Boss Man and Bull Buchanan, you could say, were unique characters. They had a lot of those in the Attitude Era.
The first thing I want to say is you've seen what's happened to Boss Man since last WrestleMania. He's gone from Hell in a Cell working guns to a tag team. So you can see how it's gone.
One thing in common though, both matches weren't really that good. The opener was good in the sense that you had some nice characters there in Godfather and D'Lo Brown, but didn't really feel like it should have been on the WrestleMania card, did it? It was I guess a decent opener. You had the heels win though, which usually is not the way you start off a WrestleMania. We give Bull Buchanan wins with that top row leg drop.
With the match itself, as it was pretty not a WrestleMania kind of bearded match, it was what I would call a okay match, because it weren't awful, not like, oh, this is boring. It was actually somewhat decent with the wrestlers involved.
Well, at least unlike WrestleMania 15, it's actually got some time, and I think the 4 hours really did help that. Should we just go on to the next match?
Next match.
Hardcore Scramble match. 15-minute time limit for the WWF Hardcore Championship. You know, the great thing about the Hardcore Championship is you could just, basically, whoever wasn't on the pay-per-view, you could just put in this match, give them some weapons, and like we said in the last review, you just make them hit each other, and it's usually a very exciting match, and the whole Scramble match was a very unique idea at the time. 15-minute time limit, whoever, you know, the title could change hands as many times as they like, and it changed like 10 times, and whoever was the champion after the 15 minutes was the champion.
I don't really like time limit matches, but with this one it needed a time limit just because obviously the hardcore matches, they could have just gone on and on, getting different champions, so this needed a time limit, so I was okay with it.
A lot happened in this match, didn't we? We had about 10 title changes, they went backstage, they went around the ring. The concept was a lot of fun, but it was very hard to keep up with what was going on because there was so much going on. You had like the Mean Street Posse in there, the Funaki and Takamichinoku in there, Taz was in there, who debuted at the Royal Rumble, massive pop at the Royal Rumble. Crash Holly, Hardcore Holly, so many like sort of lesser names in there, but it was, I guess, for what it was like a hardcore match usually is, it was entertaining, even though the finish was a bit botched and the referee sort of they didn't get there because the time was supposed to run out before Hardcore Holly pinned Crash, but they kind of botched it a little bit.
Well, two things I want to say, it was hard to watch. For the people there at the arena watching it, they had to look everywhere because the referee went outside the ring, inside the ring.
That was all about quadruple screen.
Yeah, so for the fans there, it's hard to watch. They're mainly concentrating on the champion. And what Dan just said about Crash Holly, I wouldn't have had him come as the champion because obviously I don't think he's a big draw compared to his.
I'd have had Taz. I personally would have had Taz. An ECW legend, great. We saw Royal Rumble 2000. He got a great introduction of Royal Rumble, great pop. I would have had Taz win this. That's just me personally. I think the wrong guy did win this, but the botched finish where Hardcore got the pin, didn't, and then they found out that he won. It's kind of like, oh god, I put a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth after what was a sort of an entertaining match.
Very true, but again, it's a hardcore match, so I'm satisfied with it.
Al Snow and Steve Blackman versus TNA. God, what do we say about this? We'll start with one good and one bad for me. The whole head cheese thing was stupid. Like the whole sort of the guy coming out in the head cheese. But the star of this was Trish Stratus. She was the star of that TNA faction, and she became, tag team, and she became she's going to be a Hall of Famer, isn't she?
The draw, everyone was watching her, to how well she was dressed in this match, and how obviously she was there, making sure TNA doing the right thing throughout the match. But overall, I think it was an okay match for what it was.
It went about 7 minutes, but it just seemed like another filler match on the WrestleMania card. I mean, I had technical difficulties in the match as well, where JR couldn't commentate, and after the match, they attacked the cheese, and I'm like, oh god, this segment was awful.
The match was bad, but getting the cheese involved and it not being like, again, this could be seen as maybe not a WrestleMania card type match, just because it's like really huge about it. But overall, it was Steve Blackman and Al Snow, main concentration idiot.
Another example of an Attitude Era thing gone wrong there with the whole cheese thing. I really didn't like the segment that much, in all honesty, with that whole cheese thing just broken me. Really put a joke on the whole thing, especially with TNA. But we'll move on to a good match. This was, to me, probably the best match of the night, in my opinion. The triangle ladder match between Edge and Christian, Hardy Boys, Dudley Boys for the Tag Team Championship. So much history going into this. We had that Royal Rumble tables match. These three tag teams always seem to match up very well together. You know, we had this whole ladder match. This ladder match was fantastic. Great spots. The tag teams worked well together. Who knew that they would go on to have two great TLC matches that would outdo this? One of them being on the next WrestleMania.
The thing about this, obviously, before we get to the next one, because that's what we're doing next, with this one, it wasn't a bad match at all. I really enjoyed it. You got to see different spots, different techniques from each wrestlers, and there were good spots from tall ladders, the table. There's a lot of involvement, and it really kept you entertained throughout the match. There weren't a part where people thought, oh, it's starting to get boring now, come on, finish. It was entertaining all the way through. I really liked this match.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the match, I was entertained throughout. It didn't really ever slow down. You have Edge and Christian win. They seem to always win these matches, didn't they? But it's nice how over time you had the tables match at Royal Rumble, the ladder match at WrestleMania, both very good matches. Then you go on to the TLC concept at SummerSlam 2000, then WrestleMania 17. So they kind of build it up. It's just a shame that they built it up to such a crescendo that it was never going to get to a match again. But still, a great match. I really did enjoy this match. I really think it should have been a lot higher up on the card, and it got the right amount of time, about 22 minutes. So I'm happy with this. This is probably the best match of the night for me.
This match, obviously, as you see them all grow in the WWE, and how this match was a great match for a WrestleMania match, a match that deserves to be on the card. I really enjoyed it.
But why did they follow it up with Terry Runnels versus the Cat in a Cat fight? Why did they follow up that great match, the crowd on their feet, with that bullshit? I just don't get it.
I guess WWE thought, oh, it's just cat fight, people will love it, but it didn't turn out as great as they were thinking.
You know, the last two WrestleManias, the Divas matches really have been pretty fucking shit, didn't they? That was one bad thing about these two WrestleManias. Both Divas matches sucked balls. But we'll move on to the Radicals, which consisted of Eddie Guerrero, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn versus Too Cool in China. Weren't Too Cool a great, fun tag team around, especially with Rikishi?
Well, with this, they brought the entertainment into this match, dancing before the match, after the match, during the match, everything was going on. They made it entertaining to watch, so I really liked them.
China was pretty over as well for a female, and the Radicals were a new group coming in from WCW. This was their way of sort of getting them on the map. You had this whole thing with Guerrero and China with Latino heat. You know, it was an okay match. It got 9.5 minutes. It was an okay match, but to me, the whole point, you know, the whole sort of China Eddie Guerrero kind of was the forefront of this match. But after the match, you didn't get a dance because it was going to come later on in the night, and at the time I was a bit disappointed. But I got it later on in the night anyway. But it's still an okay match, okay segment.
One would say seeing China wrestle against men was a bit like, oh, but obviously that's because of her character, how she's been built up to this. So I think with her in it, entertaining as well. But again, the male side, the whole Eddie Guerrero trying to dominate most of the match because that's what their content on.
Yeah, and it would happen that the next night on Raw, China would then side with Eddie Guerrero, and Eddie Guerrero would win the European Championship. So you kind of wonder here why the biggest pay-per-view of the year they just didn't do it then. It might have had a bit more impact, maybe. Just saying, the night after on Raw, they kind of do it. What was kind of leading up to a WrestleMania, it seemed kind of pointless a little bit.
It does indeed, but obviously we find out why the European Championship weren't given to Eddie Guerrero on WrestleMania later.
After that, we had Kurt Angle versus Chris Jericho versus Chris Benoit in a triple threat match for the WWF Intercontinental Championship first fall and European Championship second fall. God, that was a mouthful, wasn't it?
It was indeed. It was something different.
Yeah.
They concentrated on. I'm glad they got both belts on WrestleMania. That was good.
Yeah, you had the whole thing on something like here with Bob Backlund and Kurt Angle. Oh, Bob Backlund, allowing this match to happen was kind of funny. This was all three of their first WrestleManias, and what a surprise! All three of these, these three guys put on a great match, and they were all going to be worldwide champions in the future. In the mid card in this WrestleMania.
Very true. This match did good for all three of them. They all showed their strength in this match. I enjoyed this match. The way I see it is that Angle, of course, was trying to retain his championships.
Yes.
The other challengers who were putting on the fight because they both wanted it. But in my eyes, Benoit was doing a great job for this match.
Yeah, I mean, you had Angle losing both his championships, that he didn't get pinned in either of them, but they had bigger plans for him down the road when they had him win the WWF Championship at No Mercy. Then they involved him in that main event scene. Jericho's would come in 2001, and Benoit's would come in 2004. So you had stars. All three of these guys were eventually going to main event. I just will say this though. This is exactly what you expect from these guys. They're very good technical wrestlers. This gave you good technical wrestling. I may have had it go a little bit longer though. Like it got 13 minutes, and I kind of feel with it being a 2-4 match, if it got more time, it could have been such a better match. But you had Benoit winning the IC and Jericho winning the European. I didn't have too many problems with this segment. I just think it could have got a bit more time, and it could have been a lot better.
But a 4-hour event, a 13.5-minute match was okay, but with it being a two-title match, maybe the length could have been longer just to give each match more meaning.
You could have taken out a bit of that filler at the beginning of the pay-per-view, couldn't you?
That would have been a nice idea.
So overall, a good match. I'll give it that. It was a good match between three guys who you expect good chemistry and a good match from.
Definitely worthy for this WrestleMania.
Just before the main events, we have X-Pac and Road Dogg, the new D-Generation X after Triple H went away from them last year at WrestleMania, versus Rikishi and Kane. Now this whole thing here, this was just before the main event. A storyline like this was just before the main event. You had the whole thing with Tori being Kane's girlfriend, then she left for the new DX. You had the feud between X-Pac and Kane as well over Tori, which was okay. But this match again just seemed like it was just put on the card. Randomly, but even though they did have something good after it, which I did enjoy and really got people hyped up, which was the Too Cool dancing.
The thing about this is that you've seen Kane's character again grow over the years to this. Now he's gone from up high, maybe dropped down a bit to this.
A little bit, yeah.
But overall, the match itself,
4 and up, within 4 minutes.
It wasn't the best of matches, too quick. But again, for a match like this, that was just like throwing on the card, maybe just for the entertainment purposes, the dance at the end. I think it was okay, but it could have gone a bit longer to fill up the time.
Like I said, it got 4 minutes. It seemed like the whole segment was done to move to the after segment with the whole, you have Tori getting stink face, so Rikishi, Kane get their revenge on Tori. Not really sure why they ever put Rikishi in this. It just seemed like they did it so they could have a tag match. But I mean, you had the Too Cool dance, which was very entertaining. A great thing about the Too Cool and the Attitude Era was that they could do things like this. And guys like Rikishi, Scott Jihoti, Grandmaster Sexy, Jerry Lawler's son, as you move from this pay-per-view, they were never going to be main eventers, but they did their job for the company, and that's what they did. They entertained the crowd. That was their job.
Thing is, the entertainment, yes, I could have seen Rikishi growing higher than where he got to, but that was a shame he didn't. The thing about this is that the Kane thing, I thought he was going to choose on that third, and it was going to be the same person who's been...
Oh, but it was anyway.
Yeah, so...
For 3 WrestleManias in a row, we see Kane either chokeslamming or tombstoning Pete Rose. Why did they ever have Pete Rose get involved with Kane? This is like a WrestleMania only storyline. Rikishi stink faces him. Main event, right?
Yeah, that was about it.
It's just a kind of filler match just to try and get to the end. We then have our main event. Now this had a lot of story behind it. Main event of WrestleMania 16. Mick Foley versus Big Show versus Rock versus Triple H. With Linda McMahon in Mick Foley's corner, Shane McMahon in Big Show's corner, the Vince McMahon in the Rock's corner, Stephanie McMahon, Triple H's girlfriend at the time, in Triple H's corner. God, you had so much history around this match, didn't you? You had Triple H Vince's match at Armageddon 99, you had Steph turning on her dad, that really great feud between Foley and Triple H, Big Show versus Rock feud from the Rumble, Foley's WrestleMania main event dream, the Royal Rumble, obviously. You had so much surrounding this, it kind of seemed like it all meshed into one a bit here, but I really don't understand why they had the whole McMahon in each corner thing. I really thought that overshadowed the match slightly.
Well, as much as it did, I think it's from the past. I think it's all been up to a McMahon big rivalry. They were all against each other at the time, so why not have them all pairing up to each opponent? I guess it made sense, but as the match went on, the concentration did draw a bit around the ring than in the ring.
Yes, which is kind of what drew me away from this, because the match was very good. I mean, you had Big Show eliminated after 5 minutes. We knew that he wasn't really going to play a massive part in this match because it was basically all going to be all about Rock and Triple H. I kind of wish that this could have been maybe a singles match between these two, because we never really got a singles match between these two at WrestleMania. Mick Foley had his WrestleMania main event moment. He got eliminated after 20 minutes. Don't get me wrong, this was a well-worked match. It told a good story. It was well-worked. It's just that it was going really well. You were having the Rock Triple H on their own, and then you had the whole shit with the McMahons at the end. It was just like, oh, why? It just really put a sour taste on that. What could have been a great match.
Well, seeing the match was doing all nicely, concentrated all the 4 wrestlers, 3 wrestlers, 2 wrestlers in the ring, and it came to when Triple H and Rock was stayed down. It did lay out to the outside of the ring where Vince McMahon and Shane had their fight going on. That led to something after WrestleMania, but again, it took away from the thing that we were watching the most, the championship.
Yeah, and essentially, there are a couple of things from this now. You had the whole McMahons, they joined together and sided with Triple H. Now, it wasn't me, or did the McMahons siding with Triple H kind of overshadow Triple H's title win? He never really held that title up high. And I do think WWE missed a great opportunity, not necessarily this WrestleMania, but just in general, because you never had Rock, a massive star for that company, win a title at WrestleMania, and this could have been either a time to do it. But I mean, I don't mind them actually having a heel win, because it's very rare you have WWE, which essentially are a babyface company. They usually have their babyfaces win at WrestleMania. So to have a heel win at WrestleMania in Triple H was good. It did establish him, but the way they did it was just the match lead up was great with the Mick Foley, Rock, and everything. The match was good until you got to that McMahon bullshit, and it was just like, oh.
I agree Triple H needed a cheat to win because that's his character as we've seen in the past. But the way they did it was maybe a bit too much interference to get him to where he got.
I agree. And then you have Rock coming afterwards and Rock bottoming the McMahons. I think the whole thing is they were saying, oh, why did Vince McMahon hit the Rock instead? And I'm just like, well, why did you ever side Vince McMahon with the Rock anyway? Wasn't he always against the Rock? I don't know. It just seemed like really weird pairing to me, and the whole McMahon thing was just there, and it just really put me off the match, especially at the end. That's all I'll say about that. A well-worked match between the wrestlers, but the focus should have been on the match, not the McMahons, personally.
Again, we were even WrestleMania, and afterwards maybe there was more explanation for it.
Backlash, you had Triple H versus Rock. Rock wins the title at Backlash, where I felt he probably could have won it here, but at the same time, Triple H winning made sense at the time, especially when you're going to have the McMahon-Helmsley faction there too.
There we go, so it makes sense, but again, maybe they did a bit too much for the ending of WrestleMania.
Yeah. I think that's a very good example of Russo overbooking. Only Russo was busy ruining WCW at the time, so they couldn't even fuck over Russo for that one, because he was working for the rival company trying to fuck them up. But anyway, so we've reviewed WrestleMania. Now, what are your overall thoughts on this WrestleMania? What did you think? Did you think it was a good WrestleMania? Your overall thoughts and a grade?
Well, I'm going to say I was satisfied with this WrestleMania. I didn't really find much disappointment in this. The matches, some of them we felt were just thrown in there just to add matches to the card and to have other involved in the storyline. But overall, the matches, I was pretty much entertained. I was liking this.
You had the shit, which was WrestleMania 15 last year. To me, you had a couple of good matches. The tag team match was really good. The triple threat was really good. The main event could have been good if they hadn't. It could have been very good even if they hadn't had the whole McMahon thing. There was a lot of filler in this card. I don't know why they. You have WrestleMania, biggest event of the year, and you've got matches like those matches we had, and it's kind of a lot of it seemed like filler, and that disappoints me about really these WrestleManias. You have a great WrestleMania 14, where everything seemed to have something going for it and have something sense, and then you have like filler matches and stuff, and it's kind of just like it's a little bit disappointing for me. There was a great tag team match, a good triple threat match, and a good main event, which was overshadowed by the McMahons. So to me, it was a little bit dissatisfying, I will say that. Especially considering in 2000 you had a lot of great WWE pay-per-views and they couldn't really seem to do no wrong.
No, so to come up with a grade with this, again, I was kind of satisfied, so it could get a quite strong grade from me.
Well, what are you going to grade it?
Could be towards a B.
B?
B minus. I was just satisfied with what I got.
I couldn't give this anything more than a D+, maybe a C- if I'm being really generous. You had one great tag match, one great triple threat match. There was a lot of filler elsewhere, and that's what disappointed me. In the main event, if the main event was good, it probably would have bumped it up to a C. But with the whole McMahon's things, it raised it down for me. And it's like a D+, maybe C- if I'm being generous. I'll say D+. I'm just going to go with that. It was an improvement from last year, but you had to improve from last year because last year was so shit. But nowhere near the standards of WrestleMania 14, in my opinion.
No, but again, the thing that just entertained me is that there's a lack of video packages, which kind of disappointed me. Could explain more being a WrestleMania. But again, we said this before. The grades are not the important thing to us. It's the analysing the show. But I just said B, more of a B- towards a C.
I'm definitely a D+ in this, my friend. I'm just saying, not Sky Plus in, D+ in. But anyway, guys, what's more important to us, apart from our opinions, of course, get your thoughts on this WrestleMania down below. Did you think it was a disappointment, or did you enjoy it? Let us know in the comment section below. And NJ, not an overbooked finish like the last few WrestleManias, just a plain simple outro.
Guys, hope you've enjoyed WrestleMania. Please share your thoughts in the comment section below. This has been a WrestleMania that was meant to be big, so it being the start of the millennium. And all we can say now is leave your thoughts in the comment section below. And that's been it from Mr. Parkin and me and Jay, the Butcher's Biz. Till next time, people. Goodbye.